Gentlemen, I want to jump into our next topic, which is tournament start times. Seth Davies actually, it's a long overdue conversation, really, and it was Seth Davies who spurred it by tweeting, "The industry is due for a paradigm shift in tourney start times. Starting a tournament at noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., and playing really late is rough. Almost no one likes it, pros and recs alike. Let's start tourneys at 10 a.m., finish at a reasonable time. If you bust early, you can still have the evening free." Mike, Ben, what are your guys' takes? You play a lot of tournament poker. How do you feel about this topic?
I'm leaning in because I know we're going to disagree. I'm getting ready. So, Mike, what time do you think tournaments should start?
7
p.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, 7 p.m.
This is crazy.
Yeah. No, I think listen, I think the people have spoken, and 11 a.m., 12 noon are the preferred start times. I think 10's too early to start a tournament.
When you say the people have spoken, do you mean you have spoken?
I mean the people, you know what I mean?
Like, what people are we talking about?
It's
here?
me. I'm talking about me.
It's talking about me. Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I'm a human. I can get up whatever time I need to.
Yeah, okay. I don't care about this. I'm a human. I can do anything.
I can do anything I want.
I can put my mind to it.
I've got an alarm clock. I've got coffee. No, whatever works for the most people. I mean, if someone is going to not, like, I don't think there are any pros who aren't going to play the tournament because it starts at 10 a.m. But
that's not true.
I mean, late reg at noon, fine. But I'm just saying there are plenty of recreationals or, weekend warriors, whatever, who may see a noon tournament or a 1 p.m. and it's going to go till 3 a.m. and might skip it. So, like,
I think I agree. I think the 3 a.m. is too crazy to go to.
Yeah.
I think the start
end
time.
times more important than start times.
End times more important than start times.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's more of how much time you have off. If it's a 2-day tournament, right? If it's a 1-day tournament, I think starting it earlier is actually better.
Right.
In general, just because they generally run very late. Like a 1-day tournament might end at 4 or 5 in the morning if you start at 10 a.m. even.
Yeah.
So like, or noon, you might get like literally 6:30, 7 a.m. some tournaments.
Yeah.
And that's too much. For 2-day tournaments, though, you have to have, like, the biggest problem right now for me is like let's say you go to the WSOP live and you play a 10 a.m. tournament, right? And then you bag at like, I don't know, close to midnight. And then it's like...
Or later.
Yeah. Normally it's like 12:31, something like that. You bag. Now you've got 9 hours between restart and your tournament. So now you got to get out of the casino. That takes 30 minutes. You got to drive home. You got to feed both your dogs, who are both terrorists,
Terrorists.
And they're gonna bark like crazy. They need food. They need water. They need to be loved up more. You know what I mean? They've been with the babysitter all day. And then you got to cook dinner or whatever. And then by the time you go to sleep, you get 5 hours of sleep and you're going in tired. And it's just like in tournament series, especially early on, like you do that a few days in a row, all of a sudden you're on day 10 of the series and you're just dead,
And I think you're making the same argument that Seth, Jason, et cetera are making, is that like that's detrimental to everyone, and especially people who like are trying to adjust their normal time to be able to play. Like that's less detrimental to you or I.
Sure.
Obviously we get less sleep or whatever, maybe, and someone can go directly to sleep after it. But like whatever we can do to not make it so that like making a day 2 ruins your fucking life.
Whatever makes recreational players the most happy is what I'm cool with.
Yeah. So,
like,
I mean, something like 9 a.m. or whatever is absurd because like then there's the side argument that, okay, well, in today's day and age, like everyone cares about taking care of themselves more in poker.
Yeah.
Some people at least, not us. But, you get up early, you work out, whatever, you're like...
I can still taste the sour Skittles from last night. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm dealing with currently. It's such a problem.
It was actually Martin Jakobsen, former WSOP main event champ, who said his dream start is 9 a.m. to start, 1 p.m. lunch break, 7 p.m. a bag and tag, and 10 a.m. restart. Seth Davies said, dream schedule.
Is it Jakobsen? Or
yeah, Martin Jakobsen. Or you can say Jacobsen,
1 p.m.
but he's Swedish.
Break.
You could
4 p.m. tea time.
No, yeah, I'm looking for that. When's crumpets again?
Yeah, do we get naps too? What's going on?
I'm trying to play polo on dinner break. You know what I mean?
It does take at least 3 hours too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 9 a.m. is just crazy. That's not like you can't I don't know.
I mean, that is what most of the world operates on, a 9 to 5 work schedule. I do
think the rest
9
of the
a.m.
world's doing so well in health.
I do think
the rest of the world doesn't, though. Just the U.S.
So I do agree that 9 a.m. is too early. And health, that's a big thing you just mentioned. You both have mentioned it. Jason Kuhn was one who harped on that. Faraz Jaka as well. Also with people with families. And just that, the old days of poker we're a lot different than modern days where people actually care a little bit more about their health, about their sleep schedules, things like that. Jason Sakoon said the only pushback he's really gotten is that some people saying that, oh, you're just saying this because it will give you, the top pros, an advantage, which I don't think is necessarily the case at all. But there's plenty of people who have weighed in on social media, a lot of big name players who just say they don't even play certain tournaments anymore because it goes too late. Working and covering poker tournaments for as long as I have, I've literally covered days that have lasted 17 hours. Ben, I know you used to do some live updates too. You had some grueling hours back then.
Yeah. I remember we worked, can't remember. Maybe it was like a PL08 final tables. I mean, there was just in those days, there was no like hard stop time or, oh, let's come back tomorrow or, oh, we're still heads up. Well, it's, 3 a.m. Why don't you guys come back? We're finishing. So it's like play till 7 a.m., play till the sun comes out. I mean, the main event even had this issue a few years ago where they, were 10-handed until 6 a.m. and then they just were like, all right, we're just going to have a 10-handed final table or whatever, start the broadcast. I mean, we see how like, I'm sure you've same thing where you're talking about one-day tournaments that last till 6:30 a.m. Yeah, that fucks you up for days and days after that. So whatever we can do to kind of like, again, I think it's a lot more about stop times, or it's about the time in between, like you said, or it's about giving a minimum. It really needs to be like there's a minimum of X amount of hours between when you bag and when you start playing again, always, and that's sort of an industry standard.
Yeah, maybe. What do you think?
Start at 9 a.m.
12, 11 hours of play, max, 10 hours of play?
Yeah, 10, 12 hours. But again, more like minimum 12 hours in between.
I think, of course, yeah.
That's more. Like, you end at 3 a.m. because you start at 3 p.m., I don't care. But make sure that you start at 3 p.m. Like, I remember we were in Houston for the PGT PLO thing, the 3300. And they had a bunch of flights, and one of them was a turbo flight that started at 7 p.m. Me and a few other guys who like hadn't made it through yet played that. It ended at like 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's unacceptable,
but day 2 started at 3.
Oh, okay,
and
that's acceptable.
Exactly. So it's like, it's still weird and it adjusted everyone's schedule and it's not ideal, like just push everything earlier. But that, at least they adjusted because they were cognizant of the fact that like.
To be fair, PLO 3:30 in the afternoon is the 9 a.m. for PLO players.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, PLO tournaments can start at 3:30. Hold'em tournaments can start at whatever, 9:30.
I think one of the issues that, look, I agree that there should be some earlier start times, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's not as simple as saying, okay, we're going to start earlier and end earlier if you're not going to actually dive into the structures and the starting stacks and the numbers, right? There's a science to tournament poker in terms of predicting when it will end or how potentially what level it should end in. There are people who organize tournaments, even a tournament reporter, BJ Nemeth, who I know is really good at calculating it. So to me, it's these tournament operators really need to get into the weeds of predicting when these things might end and then acting accordingly, right? Because what good is it going to do if you say, okay, we're going to start at 11 a.m. now, and finish at 7 p.m. and then you realize, oh, it's going to take 2 extra days to actually finish this thing out because of the structure.
No, I completely agree. And it's crazy to me that how poorly some of these tournaments are thought out and how the structures are just like, it feels like someone's just like clicking a button, just being like, we'll do that. We're good to go.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like once they get the money, like a lot of these places just don't care as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I worry about, this, this NAPT main event coming up, and I know we'll talk about, the NAP, et cetera. I think it's like there's not as many people, as maybe a normal EPT. So like they play down to 16 one day and then 6 the next. There could be some really early days where like, why wouldn't you just then adjust that?
Yeah.
And be able to, it's more about like, and I don't know if this is a gaming thing or just an organization thing, but we need to be nimble too. Like be able to adjust on the fly. Not that you're like screwing people over, but like to the advantage of everyone, right? Like something that's gonna like whether it's ending earlier, whether it's whatever. I mean, like you said, get into the weeds. Surrender to AI. Just surrender to ChatGPT. It'll make much better structures.
There is a lot behind the scenes, though, like you mentioned there, right? So it's not as easy to be nimble in certain situations. Like if TV production is involved, they do have like union standards and stuff.
Right.
So it's not like they're that flexible. Gaming things can come into it too, and you
you're
also got to look.
Shoot a day 4. You need a day 4. Enough coverage of day 4, right? Like
Yeah, and you also just have to remember from an operational standpoint, staffing sometimes, right? At a big stop like the World Series of Poker, sure, they could probably be a lot more flexible. But if you're working at, say, like a MSPT or Run Good Stop, where they can only work with the dealers that they have on hand, that sort of thing. So it's just not as easy as some players might think it is. Like I remember one MSPT in particular was a lot busier than we expected. And yeah, there were actually empty tables in the convention hall and everyone's listening, screaming, there's empty tables, there's a line, open them up. Yes, in an ideal world, but what they didn't know is that there just literally wasn't any dealers. Nobody expected the turnout, so it was impossible to open them. So it's just, perception versus reality.
But I'll give
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll give you an example. WSOP.com, since they've opened, they've had mystery bounties that literally, and this is 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the new software has been here. Mystery bounties still to this day on WSOP.com, they don't come in the money. They just pick a random time. They say level 18,
15,
level
17.
19, they start. And it's just like, we're 40 people off the money. And I've asked the people up top, like, what's that about? And they said, we don't have a way to, the software won't let us do that, or we would. They said they just pick a time and they stick with that. And it's like, it's not really the best time you've been picking. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like,
well, I mean, the New Jersey people too.
Well, that's
a whole different point, obviously.
Well, no, I think that's, it's very pertinent to hear is I was thinking the same thing. It's like, dude, they've been complaining for 8 years about bracelet events in New Jersey running till literally 9 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning Eastern time, when the start time is like legitimately 2 p.m., 3 p.m.
Reg closing at 11 p.m. local time.
Unacceptable. Yeah.
But I think the important thing as players and kind of all this is we need to stay things and like speak up to protect ourselves. But at the same time, there are so many things behind the scenes as we go through these things. So, have some empathy for the operators, etc. But yeah, you can't be playing a bracelet event till 9 a.m. in New Jersey. That's crazy.
It was actually Jeremy Osmus. He tweeted in correlation to this discussion about tournament start times. He said that he's heard a lot of complaints from players in buy-ins live, but he's also skipped buying into these. He said, quote, and don't get me started on these online bracelet events. Rarely play them. And I think it stems to the point that you just made, Mike. I'm glad this conversation is happening. I think, Matt Savage and others have heard it, and we very well could see some changes moving forward.